With the world watching on, Joe Biden is expected to be sworn in as US President on January 20th. Global leaders, including Singapore's Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, will be paying close attention to how Mr. Biden reshapes foreign policy. In a wide-ranging interview that aired today, PM Lee spoke to Bloomberg News Editor-in-Chief John Micklethwait at the Bloomberg New Economy Forum. Let's bring in Associate Editor Ravi Velloor to discuss this further. Hi Ravi. Now Ravi, one of the main topics of the interview was on US-China ties, particularly on what US President-elect Joe Biden should do on building that relationship. Now let's listen to what PM Lee said.
Asia is a very important part of the world for America and China particularly. I hope that he will be able to focus his mind on developing a framework for an overall constructive relationship with China. And within that framework, deal with trade, deal with security, deal with climate change, deal with non-proliferation, North Korea, all the many issues which the two biggest powers in the world have to focus on. And amongst those will also be issues which will be of concern to all the rest of us in Asia who are watching carefully to see how things will develop, because the last 4 years have been quite a tumultuous ride.
So Ravi, we just heard PM Lee describing the last 4 years as tumultuous. How do you think Washington and Beijing can reset their relationship under the new US administration?
Well, there's no doubt that the last 4 years that under President Donald Trump has been more than tumult. It's been confusion and chaos and absolute disruption in so many ways. And there's a lot of damage, a lot of healing that needs to be done. Some of it is highly achievable. But if you don't get it right, I think at the same forum that PM was speaking, Dr. Henry Kissinger was also interviewed by the editor-in-chief of Bloomberg, and he described the current situation as something close to what went on before the First World War. That was in the run-up to 1914. So things are very dire. There's no doubt about it. And if ever a situation needed a reset, it is the US-China relationship. Well, Mr. Biden is not unfamiliar with China or with President Xi Jinping. If I remember, his first trip to China was back in 1979 when he was a senator. And I think he had a meeting with Deng Xiaoping at that point. Subsequently, as vice president under Obama, he held meetings with then Vice President Xi Jinping. And then when President Xi came to America, Joe Biden accompanied him around the country. So they do have, they are familiar with each other, they know each other. But the thing now to do is to, in fact, Dr. Kissinger suggested the same thing. He said, well, use back channels to open a dialogue. First decide on what's at stake, and then try to go for what is achievable.
Ravi, PM Lee also spoke on the recently signed Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, or RCEP, and the significance of such regional trade agreements.
It is a significant step towards reducing trade barriers and facilitating trade between these economies, and also a significant statement that in Asia, whatever happens in the broader world, we would like to promote regional integration, and we do believe in a model of cooperation and win-win trade rather than in going it alone and beggar thy neighbor, which in these troubled times is worth quite a lot.
So Ravi, this is a two-part question. Do you think with regional trade agreements like RCEP, there is a possibility of the global world divided into a much more regional one? And what is the significance of such agreements to Singapore?
Well, I think the first thing is for the region that because there's such doubts about multilateralism, which have been spawned largely by the United States and President Trump's behavior since taking office, regions have to do what they can to keep the engine of trade, engine of multilateralism moving. While things are done to fix the WTO and other larger issues, I don't think it is going to divide the world, but it means that a part of the world will try to do what it can for itself while waiting for the rest of the world to catch up. And that is the significance of deals like RCEP. For Singapore itself, well, it makes a statement. Haryanto, as you're probably fully aware, that Singapore is the most trade-driven economy in the world. Yeah. Trade is more than 300% of our gross domestic product. So we are critically dependent on trade. So anything that keeps economies open, keeps the trading system going, is good for us. Specifically, RCEP may not do a whole lot for us because we have very high quality trade deals with more than 20 countries. But that doesn't stop us from signing even what might seem insignificant trade deals like the Singapore-Sri Lanka Trade Accord. The important thing is to keep trade open, to keep those channels open and not allow them to close in any way.
Right. Ravi, now let's move to the topic of Singapore, because the interview also touched on Singapore's next budget. PM Lee said that we are unlikely to see a balanced budget, let alone a surplus. What do you think the budget in February will look like then? How big a deficit will it be, you reckon?
Well, it's not for me to guess what's on the mind of the finance minister. We don't know the data yet. We do know that we had a very bad second quarter, and hopefully things will start to pick up now that certainly sentiment is improved because more than one COVID vaccine seems to be on the horizon, but it hasn't translated into the economy yet. At the moment, it's at the level of sentiment. So we do not know how long the hand-holding of businesses and job support and rental support and all these things can continue. One thing is for sure, they cannot go on forever because everybody runs out of money at some point, even a well-funded economy like the Singapore government and a well-funded government like Singapore, which has built up reserves thanks to years of prudence. So that's one part of it. The second part of it is that, you have to allow the animal spirits to thrive, and you cannot foster a culture of dependency on government for too long, because it comes back to harm the quality of entrepreneurship on the island. So I'm sure the finance minister, happens to be DPM, Heng, will have to think through all these issues and come up with a good enough solution when the budget is presented.
Well, thank you so much, Ravi, for the valuable insights. Always a pleasure to speak with you. We've been speaking to the Straits Times Associate Editor, Ravi Velloor. Now, you can read all about Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong's interview at the Bloomberg New Economy Forum on straitstimes.com.